draft here. Now, we can actually switch right on over
Yeah.
real quick.
You guys voted. We heard.
We heard.
EG versus Vortex, Cloud9's Vortex.
Are these
Is
maps?
going to be the next match that we cast. It is going to be on Cursed Hollow.
Everything is wrong.
Everything
is wrong right
Production. All right, so actually, let's talk a little bit about roster for a quick second. So we had mentioned that Fan was previously playing on Cloud9 Vortex as of last week. I'm guessing that he was filling in just sort of as a, I guess a fill-in, because they're still looking for Cloud9 Vortex is still looking for their 5th player. They actually have someone in K9 or K1 Pro, I think is his name. I'm actually not familiar. Maybe he's a League player, Dota player. I'm not sure. I've never heard of him myself. Haven't seen him playing. So we'll have to see what type of role he plays, how he fits in with the rest of the team. And, of course, EG will be remaining the same as what we just saw. So
Very cool.
I think they're already getting into bans.
Yeah, we have Nazebo and Brightwing. Brightwing being banned out by EG as the first ban, and Nazebo is going to be the secondary ban, or the second ban of the game coming out from Vortex. Instantaneously, we have, or excuse me, it's the other way around. It went Nazebo, then Brightwing. Zeratul is going to be the first pick coming out of Cloud9, and Vala Uther will be the follow-up for EG.
Another ban on Brightwing. And that was EG's ban before. They banned that first game on Cursed Hollow as well.
I mean, Brightwing's a hero that can really change team fights. Both Emerald Wind and Blink can. I mean, she's a playmaker. She's got polymorph. Rewind poly is huge. So much disability in a fight. Emerald Wind is an entire team interrupt, and it also makes them unable to move for about a second. So they're just kind of locked down. There's a lot of. She's really powerful. So
Yeah, we were seeing her start to gain a little bit more momentum. She was picked more often in tournament matches, mainly with the rise of Nazebo. She was sort of a good way to zone out the rest of the team from chasing either with the Ravenous Spirit or just simply interrupt it itself. And it just kind of seems like, Witch Doctor's still really strong, but Witch Doctor isn't even involved in this match because he was banned out from Cloud9. So, but still, Brightwing, as you mentioned, all of those things sort of just culminate together into one very strong hero. So,
and look at this. Stitches picked that late. Stitches, or Tychus rather, picked that late.
Yep.
Tychus Stitches will be picked up here, and immediately Tassadar Abathur. So EG leaning at Abathur, leaning towards Abathur once again on Cursed Hollow.
Of Abathur, yeah.
Likely going to be Idra playing him again. He looked good, and they already have Vala, and having double Vala. Double Rain of Vengeance or Strafe. Well, likely Rain has become much more popular as it can't be interrupted.
Yeah. We're going to see probably a Malfurion coming out of C9. There's really no other supports left unless they're doing some kind of crazy.
Rhaegar is so uncommon right now. It makes me sad. It makes me sad.
I mean, Tychus is kind of a fit, but yeah, you're right. It's the Bloodlust comps have seen their time. They're now a thing of the past, it would seem. I've heard some rumors that a couple teams have been trying them out in scrims, but I won't get into that.
I wouldn't count it out, especially with Thrall on the horizon.
Yeah, that's true.
I wouldn't count him out for sure. I mean, Earthquake with Bloodlust sounds like a bad time for the receiving team.
You're absolutely right about that. There's no way to get out of that. And that was basically the problem with Bloodlust, is a lot of teams were sort of not fully committing to fights, and they were sort of just picking away. And Rhaegar's healing is good, but there are definitely healers that can sustain much better. So they were sort of poking, and then as soon as the Bloodlust team commits, everyone just backs up, and it's like, okay, we just wasted a massive cooldown.
Right. The interesting thing is I actually think the time we see Rhaegar come back before Bloodlust will actually be tank comps with Ancestral. I actually think that'll be the next time we see Rhaegar.
Yeah. He's a very, very versatile healer.
Yes.
There's a lot of options in terms of his build, like what heroic you take, etc. But it just kind of seems like right now the other healers are doing it a little bit better. So,
well, they're thinking about their pick, and it's going to be Falstad Mouth.
Yep, there's the Mouth.
So like you said, and picking up Falstad as well.
No surprise there. Falstad has been, for it seems like a very, very long time, a super solid pick in terms of damage output. Incredibly safe hero, especially with the heroic. Level 16 pop that.
Illidan Abathur with Tassadar. We're going to see the shielding build with the shields from Abathur, the shields from Tassadar, the extra life steal
no tank
on Illidan. Illidan's going to be the frontliner.
This is something that we saw 2Arc sort of quote-unquote invent. At least I'll assume they invented. They were the first people to have played it in a competitive comp. That was probably around Kings of the Storm Weekly 6. No, 5. I think it was around Kings of the Storm Weekly 5. They basically are running a team that has no tank. And we're going to see Abathur at level 7 is going to pick up the when the hat is on that hero, that person heals for a certain amount. Tassadar is likely going to take auto attacks while the shield is on that hero. That sort of leeches even more. Illidan's trait leeches health with auto attacks. Illidan can get first aid. Illidan can get stone skin.
I'm so excited.
Metamorphosis. So everything is going to revolve
also
around the Illidan here.
In theory, I don't think we'll see it, but Hunt is kind of cool on this map. I don't think we'll see the Hunt.
No.
I know you guys want to see the Hunt, and I expect plentiful Hunt emoticons in the chat. But it's like you said.
That's exciting. I love to see this kind of stuff. No tanks.
Yeah, me too. Again, it's just that Illidan is going to be so hard to kill.
Yeah, this is like a giant check us out EU. We're running none of your favorite class right here. your genre of heroes. EU loves to go for very sustainy tank type builds.
My question is, do we see that kind of weird Uther tank?
Again today that was
like the extended ghost, the improved ghost.
To deal with Illidan?
No. He's the same team as Illidan. So to kind of fill in as
I
see, Uther to kind of help fill in that role as a tank.
Yeah. No, I don't think so.
Kubi's not sold.
No, I'm not
Kubi
sold.
doesn't like it.
I think cleanse is just too important here. You're going to need to make sure that Illidan can get in and out of CCs and just not be able to be stopped. I think they're going to have to go cleanse. I'd be so shocked if they didn't. All right. Enough rambling. Let's get into this. So for Cloud9 Vortex on the blue side, we have Liquid Sheth playing Malfurion. iDream will be on Zeratul. K1 Pro is a new guy rotating in. He's going to be playing Falstad. Rarjar will be on Tychus, and Bobby Hank Hill will be rounding it out on Stitches.
And on the other side of the map, we have Kawhi Rice playing as Uther again. The support currently for Evil Geniuses. Faye will be playing as Vala. Fan is going to be subbing in as Illidan. Idra on the Abathur once more here. He likes that skin. They're rocking that skin once again. And last but not least, who did we miss? It's going to be... I missed Mookie. Where's Mookie?
Tassadar.
Yeah. Guys, I'm the worst.
A little bit strange because we're so used to seeing him play a tank class or a warrior. So that's odd. And he actually grabbed the mana refund.
Mana refund. Okay, so that's becoming a bit more common on Tassadar. He doesn't have Conjurer's Pursuit as an option. Typically, the old build used to be the increased damage. Out of Side Storm, that's no longer there, so now the option is in fact an increased range. Yeah. But I actually, the more I think about it, the more I like the mana refund.
Sure. Yeah, no, I mean, it makes a lot of sense here, especially because, gosh, everything around these teamfights is going to revolve around dealing with that Metamorphosis Illidan. And we're even seeing other things like the Rancor build, like perhaps we'll even just see Vala go full auto attack because she can get away with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like everyone's going to be trying to deal with this Illidan, who's just impossible to kill. And, you know, Vala's just sitting there like pew pew pew. I mean, do you have time to even deal with her? I don't know. It's going to be crazy to see how these teamfights unfold.
Illidan hits hard. Like, he's not going to die, and he hits like a truck, so it's going to be very interesting to see how it works out. Now, this triple aggression in the top lane forced Mookie Pants to actually rotate up here. The wave clear that he has with Sidestorm and just Abathur in general should be able to sustain relatively well.
Ooh. Wouldn't have killed Faye, but that would have definitely applied quite a bit of damage there.
And yeah, again, we're going to see the Abathur hat on Fan more often than less here.
Yeah.
So it's
especially after level 7 when she Abathur picks up that healing ability. Already applying some pressure to this mid lane here.
I like that stun just to like say no, stay away from my Illidan. He's going to do what he wants, and you're not going to do anything about it. Top lane again, taking a decent amount of damage, but really not as much as you might, expect with the shielding from Tassadar and the shielding from Abathur. So that's a really nice thing to be able to point out, the amount of defensive capabilities they have here on their structures as well.
So,
okay,
Fan's the one that's on Illidan. How do you feel about them even running the strat without LZ? I feel like LZ was usually their Illidan player, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I think
I've never seen Fan play.
I think they have to trust Fan, even though he's subbing in. You got to trust him.
He's been doing a good job.
I
didn't see him make any misplays the previous 2 games that we casted him. So, I mean, in Fan we trust.
And Fan we trust. Now you can see the nice little warding done by Idra here on Abathur, just kind of getting vision of as many places as possible, knowing where they're going to be hiding for this tribute. So as this tribute does in fact spawn, EG does have the vision advantage. Doesn't look like they're really making much of an effort. We see that Faye is making her way up, and Kawhi and Fan will be following. Okay.
Should be in time. I don't think that the Malfurion Sheth is going to be playing any crazy games here, trying to get himself killed if he pokes out too far forward. Of course, there's a lot of scary stuff on EG that could get him wrecked immediately.
All right.
So
that's a tribute
they're
for
giving this
EG.
one up.
Nicely done, nicely done. But they are losing soak in this bottom lane. Actually, no, as I say that, we see the Abathur hat trying to maintain some soak down there.
He's going to lose maybe 1 or 2 minions worth of experience, but that's the strength of Abathur that we were talking about on this map. He has the ability to sort of quote-unquote be everywhere. So like you were saying, while the Abathur hat is on minions, he is soaking experience in that lane. And wherever his body is, he's also soaking experience in that lane as long as he's within vision of those minions dying.
It's actually possible to soak 3 lanes at once, as crazy as that is
swapping
to say.
the cooldowns, or alternating the cooldowns and the creep waves. Yeah, it is possible. Very difficult to do, especially with the pro teams. And
yeah,
you're not going to get away with
your
it.
allies.
But even still, being able to soak 2 lanes by yourself, it leaves a lot of options open for your team to run around to gank people. It's scary for the opposing team to deal with.
It definitely is. Now, Fan and Kawaii, they've taken a decent amount of damage. This tower sustained some damage. Level 7
level
talents.
7, and we do see Cleanse picked up for Uther, so we won't be seeing that tank Uther. I figured as much that they probably would need that CC reduction.
Yep.
That allows for 1 full second of not being able to apply any CCs to whatever hero of his choice. I think it's a 30-second cooldown, so it's a very, very good talent. We do see that full auto attack build coming out of Faye here. The searing attack sort of seals the deal right there for you. Mule coming out of Abathur. That's just
no surprise.
The buildings. Yeah, we talked about that in their first game of their set versus Wildfire.
And actually, yeah, Tassadar gets blown up. A nice little pickup
they're
there.
going to have to give this one up.
And Cloud9's going to get Kawaii as well. So
yeah,
that's
iDream's just going to be body blocking.
Actually,
it's going to lock him down.
Yeah, they actually aggro the Knights, and that's not really what they wanted. It's not going to matter as Kawaii is getting cornered here. Not even able to stun Rajar or slow Rajar with the Wave of Light. So yeah, 2 for none and a tribute there for Cloud9 Vortex.
Whoa. First aid on Zeratul.
It's
odd.
Yeah.
To say the least. I don't think I've ever seen Zeratul take first aid.
It's definitely an option. It's just not the more common take, but it's definitely a viable option. Now, Fei Fan put some aggression on, but we have the Mule on both teams. We actually saw Mule was picked up here by Sheth. Now, that's giving up a
lot of healing.
A lot of healing, yeah. And but I think it's the right call here for Curse Hollow, especially with an Abathur you have facing the other enemy team.
Yeah. Putrid Bile. Level 10 was just hit for Cloud9 Vortex, so we can take a look at some of their heroics chosen. Of course, we see Tranquility, Void Prison, Shock and Awe, Odin. Those are all pretty standard picks. Putrid Bile is the odd one. Normally, say like 80% of our games, we see Gorge taken, which pulls somebody into Stitch's stomach, kind of pulls them out of the fight. But in this map, where we sort of have a lot of narrow corridors, we've seen some amazing games just be like completely turned on their head because of Putrid Bile, like zoning an entire team out from hitting a tribute. So I'm pretty excited to see some awesome plays come out of that.
Yeah. Now, level 10 has been achieved also here for Evil Geniuses, and this is where their strategy starts to shine.
This is where the magic happens, boys.
Because Metamorphosis is a key part of what they want to accomplish here with the Illidan.
Yeah.
This lack of a tank in their composition, and it's 1-1 in terms of tributes.
Yeah.
Both teams are 10.
So it looks like we're going to have a fight here, but remind me to talk about Abathur's build just a little bit after this fight happens, because we did actually kind of gloss over something really quick.
Now, Bobby Hankel is going to look for that hook. He's likely going to go for the bushes down here. He knows the 2 assassins were down there. And with Faye being an option, yes, he does go for Faye, but a nice juke there. K1 Pro looking for that capture. Faye, of course, has multi-shot available, and she will just continue to lay out the best she can. Kawaii, once again, getting himself locked in a bad
one way out of
position,
there, boy. It's through an Odin, is it?
Yeah, but we see the Archon is being used and Tranquility being used. K1
This
Pro,
is an amazing use of Putrid Bile right here.
Yes, that's exactly how you want to see it being used. And we have Fan going in hard. We should see the Abathur hat going in. Actually, no, we have an Abathur clone, so that's not going to happen. Double Illidan's are available. The hook goes down on the Abathur clone. Rajar taking a ton of damage, and he's going to fall. The double Illidan aggression actually proven to be quite powerful. And with iDream coming here, he's going to try to stall this tribute, but I don't know if it's going to matter. Oh, just barely gets the, barely misses the Singularity Spike.
EG picks up that curse.
Yeah.
Or that tribute, sorry. So, yeah, the thing that I wanted to mention, of course they're going back in as soon as I want to talk about something critical.
K1 Pro taking a lot of damage to Idra here. Now, he has Metamorphosis. That means he has a lot of additional health. Yeah. Harder to take him down. And
this is the clone.
And the clone will be falling any second at this point in time anyways.
Yep, so no big loss there. Actually, if anything, that triggers the cooldown for Metamorphosis to start even sooner, so makes sense.
Now, this Abathur build,
Yes, all right. So we were talking, we were hyping all this up. We're like, yeah, he's going to grab the healing at level 7. He just grabs a mule. So
Yeah.
not exactly what we were expecting. We were also expecting Tassadar to grab, I believe it's at level
Shield.
4,
Yep.
HP regen for shielded targets. So it's a bit of a spin on the typical.
Well, what we saw out of 2-Arc, at least. The style that they built
not really
with
typical.
the
It's not typical at all.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
It's a very strange style. So I think what's going to end up happening is we're going to see more of a focus on what we just saw in that team fight, which is the copied Illidan. You're going to have 2 Illidans going in and out, and likely Idra will be taking the lead on those fights to try to soak a little bit more damage, as his death doesn't matter as much.
Team fights are going to look much like they did when I was in gymnastics as a little girl.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be.
Do you
very
care to
nostalgic
elaborate on
for
that
me.
a little bit more? You're just gonna like throw that in. Maybe people won't ask you anything.
Now we have this tribute here. It is in fact the 4th tribute. A nice hook on Kawhi. He actually, I don't know if he had to worry about the gorge too much because he can Divine Storm after it, but he did pop Sprint, so that's something that's on cooldown now.
Yeah, we have all heroics are up.
And they're giving it up. They're giving it up. They don't like the positioning here. They're just too worried about engaging poorly. And I feel like they just. Yeah, I mean, they had the Abathur. They just didn't want to use it yet, I guess.
Yeah, especially with that hook that went down early, I was surprised they didn't take that as an opportunity to try to dive in. But they're all sort of running around this corner. They're not sure what position everybody's in. They have very little vision of the situation. I'm guessing that Mookie probably had Oracle off on cooldown, so they couldn't quite see. They just said, let's give it up. It's not worth dying over this.
Yeah, it wasn't a curse, so the situation wasn't necessarily dire. Top, we see a big rotation here. They're just kind of poking around, looking around. We see these again, the wards here out of Abathur, these mines, just to continue keeping eyes on, making sure they're not taking that cheeky golem, and they have the mines here as well. So EG has complete vision on the golems. 5th tribute. This is going to be a curse, whoever gets this tribute. And all heroics are available now. EG does need to get in a position. They don't really want to come around this side as it's risky.
Are they giving this up?
They can't. They can't. Mookie can
no,
stall
you're
it.
right. I mean, they can't, but God, this is like, you'd think they would have moved forward a little bit sooner. This is such a...
Okay, the hook's been used, and this is going to trigger them to walk in. We actually see Cloud9 back up the second that's been done, and Sheth is going to be just kind of looking around for those big roots. Anyone that comes in here, he can zone them out entirely with a root.
It's... basically, yeah, so they're waiting. They're going in now, yes, because of the Metamorphosis.
Now, as soon as you see the Metamorphosis, you're going to see Fan going in the front lines. Divine Storm is used, but it only hits a few targets. Void Prism, iDream is forced to back up here, and all the members of EG go in, and the Shockanah is completely wasted as a result. We see Fan taking a lot of damage. That is, of course, the real Illidan. Now, the After Clone Idra is going in there with meta as well. It's going to fall almost instantaneously, it looks like, though.
I have so many... Wow, actually, that hook looked like they barely clipped him. I know. I think Mookie should fall here. Do they have like one more? Yeah, with Zeratul chasing, there's no way he's getting out.
Oh my goodness!
No, come
last
on.
second heals. Kawhi is
Get
going to fall though. Mookie going to fall.
Yeah, they're going to dive for it.
And yeah, I mean that's this weird comp out of EG. Not sold.
I gotta put Idra a little bit on blast here. I just don't like the way. I feel like he should be leading in those fights, and it was actually Fan that was going forward. He had the copy. They were copied right next to each other, of course. And I just feel like Idra should lead the charge there.
Yeah.
And he should dive in first, then Fan. As it was, Fan sort of dived in and was like, oh, where's Idra? Oh, he's stuck in the Void Prison. And then had to back up. So
it's a weird composition in general. Not having a tank. I mean, yes, they have sustainability with double Illidan, and that gives them damage, but
hindering Moonfire coming out of Liquid Chef on Malfurion at level 16. That's a strange one. We don't see that too often.
Well, yeah, I mean EU gets it a lot, and I think that's kind of some of the EU affecting NA's decision making.
You really think that's better than the increased entangling roots, or even a hard focus if you chose to go with that too. So
in this kind of scenario, if there's people running away from Illidan, and Illidan's like one of the bigger threats in the enemy team, I think it's a good choice. I actually like that call. Going for Life Seed here as well for the additional sustainability. I mean, this is a full sustained Malf other than Mule. So since he doesn't have Mule, he opts for Life Seed, and I think that's kind of a necessary call to make there instead of
do a mini Brightwing.
Yeah, essentially, yes.
To heal the team. It's very good. And actually, we're seeing level 16 come out of EG. They're sort of delaying picking their talents here. We're, of course, seeing the Vile Nest come out of Abathur. That's going to just really help us push and defending as well. Stone Skin out of Illidan. Extra heal and move speed. Unconventional shift coming out of Mookie Pants on Tassadar. Blood for Blood, that's a temporal sustain type build. And Uther at level 16 is either going to go hard focused or he takes the Wave of Light upgrade here. Gathering Radiance, which is basically the more targets that he heals, gets extra healing out of it.
Yep. So two Giants picked up here for Cloud9. Cloud9 keeping their level advantage, 1 level up right now. Having that aggression with those Giants is really nice, but again, Idra being on Abathur kind of helps balance out a little bit in the fact that they can soak that top lane and keep that top lane pushed out.
I actually would have preferred to see Uther take Imposing Presence here, especially considering, just
oh my goodness,
they're showing that they're really focusing on the double Illidan.
Yeah,
I think Imposing Presence would have been the right call there.
50% reduction on attack speed with Imposing Presence, so it's a really strong talent for a composition with both an auto attack Vala and double Illidan.
Well, the Vala's on their team, but I mean, you have enough auto attackers.
Right.
You got the Zeratul. There's enough people on the team where it's like you may as well just
okay.
a double.
On both sides,
oh, geez. Okay, hold on. Whoa,
yeah.
I'm completely backwards here.
Yeah, I was a bit confused.
Probably confusing you too.
Yeah, I'm a bit confused. But either way, it'd be good on both teams.
No, it's fine. That choice is fine. Completely fine.
So we do have this fort. It's keep taking a lot of damage to the Great Ball, and then the hook goes down, hitting Mookie Pants. Bile is used almost immediately once we see the Illidan going in the front line. That's a nice Divine Storm, but isn't enough. Shock and Awe is a return. The Twilight Rise falls almost instantaneously. Faye is low. Idra is low. Fan is falling quickly. We have the Archon coming in the middle of the match here and trying to do some damage, but they just can't seem to kill. They can't damage through the Tranquility coming out of Liquid Chef. And yes, they have the Uther, they have Tassadar, but they can't match the sustain available from a Malfurion.
Yeah, that's been the story of most of their fights, is they just can't quite get enough burst damage, really, just to deal with the sustain. And you have the Life Seed coming out, you have the Tranquility, so...
10 to 1 in kills.
Yeah.
I mean, looking at the charts here, 42,000 healing coming out of Liquid Chef on Malfurion, and only 19k coming out of... I mean, he has more than the entire enemy team combined between Abathur, Tassadar, and Uther.
It's telling the story for this fight. I mean, for this game in general. It's just, I mean, every fight that's happened, they've come so close to killing people, and just not quite had enough damage output on one single target to get any kind of kills wrapped up. And I think the one time we saw the kill coming out of EG, it was just like they got to pick on somebody. So it's
and that I gotta say though, the Shockanaut that came out of K-Pro, I believe that's his name, did a ton of work in that fight. And Fan is taking a lot of damage here, has to back up, the shields come down, and he's gonna live to see another day. But Rajar in the front line there was able to actually steal those knights.
Actually didn't. It seemed like that Metamorphosis lasted longer than I would have expected. It's quite a long time. I was like, oh, they're not level 20 yet, but he's still in Metamorphosis, so of course he is out. Level 20, if he chooses to get that upgrade, he can stay in the Metamorphosis form. I think he gets additional healing and auto attack speed out of it as well, so I'm curious to see where they're going to go with level 20 upgrades on Illidan.
iDream is hunting for Abathur. Idra is here. iDream is right around the corner.
Oh,
he's
not going to make it.
He's not going to make it, indeed. Singularity Spike and a nice pick up there. Nicely done. And this keep, in the meantime, is going to end up falling. It's pretty much the nail in the coffin, losing your Abathur here. Level 20 has been achieved for Cloud9. Faye falls as well. Too. And Vortex is just going to push and end the game here. See the Odin come down. There's no reason to do it other than just burst down this keep. 4 words.
Throwing them together. Fun stuff. So yeah, it was a cool strategy, neat idea. I commend the efforts. They just weren't able to wrap up enough damage onto any one target to really get any kills. And you can see that's just exactly what's going on here. They're trying to kill Liquid Chef.
He would have been dead
they got
if
too
it
much
was
CC. Yeah. But I mean, that's been the story of the game. They're just trying to get these kills, and a little bit of cheeky hearth walking there.
Now
that's gonna seal the deal for Cloud9 Vortex here. They are going to take game 1 and a Manor Void Prison onto his own team. Just being funny. And we are going to see this go to game number 2 in Cloud9 Vortex's favor.
Yeah, so Chef pulling out 6k healing, we can see there. I mean, Malfurion's healing when you spec him into that. Not even getting that one talent at level 7. For the heals, he grabbed Mule instead.
Yeah, I mean, but it wasn't really a matter of did the Illidan survive long enough. It was we just can't kill them, so they needed to come up with some other method to try to get more damage output. And given the comp that they had, what could they have changed on the fly? It's tough. I don't even know if they had any options. It's like you've committed once you've picked your team comp going into it. And but yeah, like I said, it was a cool strategy. I hope we see more of stuff like that, people trying out things like that in the future. But I'm sure EG's going to be going back to the drawing board. They're going to figure out what kind of strategy they want to throw at Cloud9 next to see if they can sort of shake them up a bit and pull a win out.
So let's just talk about EG's comp,
Mm-hmm.
because we saw Illidan and we're just like, oh, we're going to see shielding on a Tassadar and we're going to see shielding on Abathur, because we've seen that before. Didn't happen. And do you think that would have made a difference if they actually built it that way?
Like to get the extra leech?
Right, because Illidan...
Gotta be honest with you, probably not.
Yeah.
They just didn't have that damage output, and that's what they needed. It wasn't really so much the sustain; it was the damage output that was lacking. So
No, that's true. That's true. I was excited, but disappointed in that comp. It did not.
I think it
deliver.
has some potential. I think they can probably tweak it a little bit. Maybe figure out who they want to pick up for their extra damage dealer. Maybe Vala just wasn't providing enough extra DPS.
Entirely possible.
Maybe they needed Falstad for the extra burst, and they could have picked him. Yeah, they could have picked him. Maybe they just go back and figure out who they could throw in to support the rest of that composition. So,
but all right, guys, we're gonna get ready. We're gonna figure out what the next map is, and we'll be back in just a second for Game 2 in Round 2 here, Kings of Storm, Weekly 7 between Cloud9 Vortex and Evil Geniuses. Stay tuned.